Acura updated the TLX for the 2024 model year. And at first glance, you might not notice, but the difference is in the details. Let's take a closer look. Looking at the front of the car, this in fact is where a lot of the differences are. First of all, we now have this frameless diamond pentagon grille right here, and the TLX Type S specifically has its own front grille to allow more airflow into the engine bay, more cooling. Also, another difference, this logo right here, still big, but no longer has a shield around it here. The sensor for the adaptive cruise control is behind this logo and no longer needs that much coverage, so this is a much cleaner look compared to before and definitely an improvement. Also, we have a front camera right here. Otherwise, this carries on as it did in 2021, and I certainly don't mind it. I think it's a nice combination of aggressive, but not too overdone. You know, this is a tastefully sized Type S logo right here. The grille does have a really interesting three-dimensional pattern into it, a lot of triangle cuts into this shape here. I do like the lower front splitter right here and a nice view of the intercooler just behind the lower front bumper right here. We also have this pattern that comes out and extends right to the edge to add width to the car visually, and this little shape right here. And the headlights are a nice, like mean squint-eyed kind of a look, you know, pretty darn shallow, only a few inches tall, and also not terribly big in the modern era at least. And the hood itself has a couple of nice sharp creases cut into it on either side, and then another one up the middle here. Adds just that sharpness to it and looks nice visually, I think. But maybe you're like me and more interested to see what's underneath it. And there you have it, a turbocharged 3-liter V6. And I have to say, some cool things stand out right away. The turbo is right here, right in front of you. And that helps make 355 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. It is a twin scroll turbocharger. And immediately after the turbo, you can see the catalytic converter right here. And you can see all these heat shields around it kind of enveloping the catalytic converter. The faster the catalytic converter heats up, the faster it starts doing its job of getting harmful compounds out of the exhaust. So that's interesting to see it right in the open, not like covered by engine shrouds and all this other stuff. Super cool. You can nerd out on that kind of thing if you're a nerd like me. There is still a healthy engine shroud right here, but you know, it is forgiven considering all this cool piping and turbos and everything I can see right there. Also, check out this plumbing. Here's your airbox right here, goes into the turbo, and then after there, it goes in through this whole bit, through the intercooler, and then comes out right here into the intake. There's your throttle body right there. That's super cool to see. So yeah, this is, among engine bays, one of the better ones I've seen in a while. Now, there is a downside to all this. The axle center line is right about here, right around the front of the shock tower right here, which means much of this heavy V6 is ahead of the axle center line. And you can see that, in fact, the Type S TLX has a worse weight distribution compared to the standard one. 59% of the weight is on the front end, but it is tuned very, very well. Don't let me get too far ahead of myself. Anyway, there is more good news here. You can see this nice and beefy shock tower brace built in right there to add structure. I really like that. And finally, tucked way back in the corner is your windshield washer fluid. It is way over here and out of the way, but as long as you're on the passenger side, easy to get to. Looking at the car in profile, this is a good chance to look at a new color for 2024. It is called Urban Gray Pearl. It is available on the A-spec and Type S TLXs, and it is a $600 optional paint. It is one of many $600 optional paints. There's only one standard color, that's silver, but in profile, the TLX largely stays the same, and I certainly don't mind that. I think it's a nice look. I do like the black window trim and the gloss black side view mirror colors and the body color door handles, and I also like this character line that comes out from towards the top of the fender flare, through the door handles and into the back. And I think that this is right on the edge, but still tastefully sized. Rear spoiler right here to add some sportiness. And I do like these built-in fender flares. It's more prominent in back, but you have one up front as well. And that is just ahead of your TLX Type S badge right here. All in all, it is a good combination of sports sedan and standard sedan without being overly flashy. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen right now so you can check that out and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. This is a 20-inch wheel for the TLX Type S. That size hasn't changed, but the design has, and it is also now in a Berlina black color, a nice gloss black, and you get black lug nuts as well. The tech package and the A-spec TLXs roll on 19-inch wheels, perfectly fine. But this is one thing that did give me pause for a quick, brief moment anyway. The only factory tire for the TLX Type S is a high-performance all-season tire. That rubbed me the wrong way. Why wouldn't you have a summer tire offered on the TLX? But Acura still does. It's just now that it is a dealer-installed option, not from the factory. Really, ultimately, a very subtle difference and something I can live with. And yes, this is a square setup. You get the same width and size in back as you do in front. Looking at the TLX Type S from the back, this is basically carryover from the 2021 model year. And just like I said before, I don't think it's a bad thing. I do like these nice long tail lights that go well into the trunk. And I do like the Acura logo with the camera built into it and this rear diffuser look back here. Now, how much purpose this actually has is pretty low. So I will call it a faux diffuser, but maybe it does just a tiny little bit. And these are fairly ostentatious quad exhaust tips right here, I'll admit that. But I love these bevels, and I don't know, this thing sounds quite good, and most importantly, they're very, very real. So I'll definitely allow it. All right, let's check out trunk space. You get 14 cubic feet of trunk space, and I would call that perfectly reasonable. And you do also get a tiny touch of storage underneath the floor. And if you do need more than 14 cubic feet of space and don't have to carry any passengers in the rear, pull a couple of handles there, and the rear seats fold right down to give you more than 14 cubic feet of space. It looks like this. But it also puts in plain view another super cool part about the Type S TLX, which is this brace right here. This is a brace to give more structure right around the rear suspension. So it's not easy to have big bulky things for storage, but this adds a lot of structure to make the suspension do its job even better. I 100% appreciate that. All right, let's check out the inside. According to the government, this is a compact car. So we don't have tons of space in the second row. That's not a surprise, but that said, it's not all that uncomfortable. I am 5 feet 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and I have, I don't know, a couple inches of knee room, and I have just barely enough headroom, and the seat bottoms are a little bit on the low side, so thigh support's okay, but not great. And put that all together, and that means I have right around a 90-degree bend in my knees. Short trips would be just fine in the back of this car, but I wouldn't want to do any road trips. That said, I do have a couple of modern conveniences, like 2 USB Type-C ports right there, and nice shape and form in the seats, so they're nice and comfortable. I appreciate that. I'm in the seat more than on the seat, and that's better than average for second row passengers. And yeah, I do have an armrest with cup holders and a little storage bit right here. So yeah, life is just fine back here. One other small update for 2024, at least if I read the specs correctly, these Milano leather seats are now standard across the board on all TLXs. This black and red two-tone interior is a standard option, but you also can go straight black. You do have the typical controls on the door right here, as well as 2-position seat memory right there, and a trunk release right below that. Here is a nice reminder that you have a TLX Type S, and you have 16-way adjustable seats right here, and that is for both the driver and passenger front seats. I mentioned it in the rear seats, so I should definitely tell you that the front seats are very comfortable and supportive, and that has been a Honda strength for a while. Look at these deep, deep bolsters up here. Really love that. And pretty healthy lower bolsters as well, so you really do fit snugly in the seat, and I really appreciate that. To the left of the steering wheel, you do have several controls, including your electric park brake right there, and you do have nice aluminum pedals beneath that. Tilt and telescope is adjustable in the steering manually right there. The steering itself is a nice thick rim, and it does have a flat bottom right here with the logo, Type S logo right there. And you do have several controls, cruise control and that kind of thing on the right, media controls on the left, and you also have upshift and downshift paddles right there for your 10-speed automatic transmission. Push button starters right here. And now you can see the fully digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster right there. And because this is a Type S, a 10.5-inch head-up display right there. Also new for 2024 is this larger 12.3-inch center console display that replaces a 10.2-inch center console display that was in the same place. Acura also says this runs on a faster processor, and it now has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Beneath that, here is our dual zone climate control system, and A-spec and higher trims get both ventilated and heated front seats for both front passengers, and you can do auto as well if you prefer. One other small new thing for 2024 is, you see this contrast stitching up here? They now also have it down here, as well as a bit on the door over there. So they've added more contrast stitching. Looking down, we do still have the push button printo right there, and the True Touch trackpad right there. This is a setup that they first used in the 2019 Acura RDX. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but once you do get used to it, I do think it's fine. Beneath that, we have a couple of cup holders and a wireless smartphone charger right there. Past that, we do have more storage in the lower center console, as well as USB Type-C, USB Type-A, and 12-volt power right there. Looking up, we do get a sunglasses holder right here, and a manual privacy panel for the moonroof right there. All simple and straightforward. One other thing that is new for the 2024 Acura TLX is they put work into adding more sound insulation into the car. And this is for A-spec and higher trims. It now has thicker carpets, more foam and insulation, and side front door acoustic glass to help keep things quiet. Except, this being the top trim Acura Type S, it doesn't have all of that, because Type S owners, Acura found, want some of that noise in. And if you listen to the engine, you can understand why. At least I can. Speaking of, let's talk drive modes. You get several drive modes, which you adjust with this dynamic mode dial right here. They are Comfort, Normal, Sport, and when you shift it to Sport, you heard the engine idle change subtly. The engine idle goes from 680 to 800 RPM, and hold the dial down, you go to Sport Plus. That is also unique to the Type S. That also raises the idle even further to 1000 RPM. And for 2024, Acura played with the throttle map to make it even more aggressive with the Type S. TBD if that's good or not. And finally, if you press this button instead of turn the dial, you get individual mode, and that allows you to adjust all these things right here, including suspension. Yes, you do have an adjustable suspension in the TLX Type S. Well, there you have it. The 2024 updated Acura TLX Type S and all the details that make a difference for this updated model. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching.